show. Today is the 6th of October 2021. If you are watching this, if you are part of this, it means you're alive. And we're all battling through, trying to stay alive through this pandemic. Today's discussion is marriage. The whole month of October is going to be about marriage. And today I have got three beautiful ladies, and we're going to talk about our views and our angles about marriage, how we see it, how we experience it, and how we understand it to be. Marriage these days is confusing. It has always been confusing. However, every generation has its own translation about it. There was a time when to be married was arranged. And then it became a trend to be in love. You found someone and you brought that person home, introduced the person, and then you married. However, the finding the person, bringing that person home, getting your family to get used to the person, and then divorcing, is like, what is this? So anyway, today we're going to talk about marriage. We're going to see how come, what is it that causes people to break up? Are there positives in marriage? That's the pro. And what is the con about marriage? Should we just stop marrying and just kind of have romance? Is that what we want? I like romance. I mean, as you know, most of you know, I've married and I'm romancing, and I absolutely love that part. So, should we just stop it? Just romance, smiling, eating nice food, going and doing nice things, and then each goes into their houses, gets close. If you want to have a child, you have to consider it. Should we come together and have children and then break up after that? What should we do? People, welcome to my show. I am so enthused. I am so excited and I'm so happy. People, let me tell you one thing. Whenever I have a panel of such powerful women on my screen, I feel blessed. So today is one of those days where I'm feeling blessed to be with you ladies. Now, my first lady is Princess Abiye. Abiye. Now, she's an actor, not actress, actor. She's a film producer, and her latest film she has produced is called All I Ever Wanted, which will be launched on November the 27th, which is, we're in October, next month is November 27th. She's having a whole launch. She's having different after parties. It's going to be red carpet. It's going to be people looking beautiful. People, this is going to be our thing. If you want to be part of it, you have to buy a ticket. I shall put it in the comments section, and you can all buy a ticket and let's go and look beautiful and do beautiful things. My next guest is Lisa Modunkwu. Now, Lisa is a young girl, highly accomplished though. Her profession is social work. She has a BA honors in social work. She's a graduate diploma in specialist practice, children and families. She has a master's in advanced social work. She's over 12 years experience working with children, young families, and young people. She, in her capacity as a social worker and a practice manager, which she greatly enjoys. She's currently working with adults and mental health adults with mental health difficulty, right? For
Fact.
my English people, my third guess, third and final, is Ngozi Onwuanibe.
I killed my surname.
What's your surname? You mention it for me, please.
Onwuanibe.
Okay.
You're very close.
I was trying to be African, say it
Oh,
proper.
Onwuanibe.
Nibe, 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 Nibe. She's her actual job is organization and practice improvement consultant. However, she's held senior leadership roles in children's safeguarding across a number of local authorities in the UK. And over the past few years, she's been working as an independent safeguarding consultant, providing local authorities support around practice and leadership improvement. She's passionate about children and young people. She is an entrepreneur alongside giving talks on safeguarding. She has her own jewelry company, and she wants me to remember to mention that she's a great music enthusiast, especially modern jazz on high volume, whilst cooking and entertaining.
Absolutely.
She shamelessly admits to reading romantic novels because
Nielsen Boone.
a girl got
Shamefully.
to escape somehow. Now, the other thing that I haven't said is that all of these ladies are just geniuses in their field. So today we're going to talk about marriage, how people get married, why they get married, and why they break up. Now, at the end, we need to find solutions on if we can help them at all. So, ladies, I don't know who to start with first. Ngozi, because you're beside me, what is your view on marriage? Do you think it is necessary for people to get married?
You know what? I don't even think it's the word necessary. I think if I've come from a background where my parents were married. I have relatives who are married, and as it happens, most of them are happily married. So, yes, I believe personally in the institution of marriage. Now, that doesn't mean that everyone else would want to be married, and that's fine. But I just feel that if you're committed to one person and you want to be married, then you really need to not just work on yourself. The other person also needs to work on themselves because a lot of people come with a baggage. So we come into a marriage with different things, experiences in the past, and some good experiences, some negative experiences. And if you walk into a marriage, a union, and remember, it's a union of two people who don't know each other. It's just this marriage that is bringing them together. So when you get into a marriage with someone you don't, you have to work in it like you're working. You work in your job. You have to keep updating yourself. You need to bring the romance and the curiosity back into your marriage, and not just feel like I'm married now, therefore I'm not going to take care of myself now. It's the be and end of the of my existence. I don't believe that marriage is the be and all, but it's not for everybody. I know that in some of our cultures, and I have some friends as well who believe that, their achievement is, I am married, Mrs. When you go to Nigeria in particular and people are, introducing themselves, I'm Mrs. It's like you almost feel like there's a badge of honor with it. And I think some of it is because of, back in the days, if you didn't, they would say in Igbo land, they would say something like, is it marriage? So they say, how do they say it? Marriage, what's marriage in Igbo now? I can't remember what marriage means in Igbo now, but basically they say being married is a woman's pride. Now, well, all good and well. I actually don't think that that's, marriage in just for marriage sake, then that's a woman's pride. I absolutely don't agree with it. That's my
Okay.
own view. I
And
just
what
think
is your view, Lisa? Because as a young girl, you are younger than the three of us. And you, I don't know, are you married?
No, I'm not married and I've never been married.
Okay. So, what is your view? How do you see marriage in your future?
Um, I feel like now marriage, people kind of, in my view, that people do it out of it's something that is an expectation, to do with like upbringing. So when you're growing up, what you're kind of set up taught is like you finish your education. As soon as you finish your degree, the next thing you need to do is get married and have children, and that's that. So I think sometimes some people find themselves in a situation where that they're getting married, not necessarily because they want to get married, but they feel that they have to get married because it's an expectation and is a norm for them to be married, especially when you get to a certain age. And that's why sometimes you find people that are in marriages. I'm not saying all marriages, they're not happy in those marriages, but you get people that are in marriages not because they wanted to get married, but because it's an expectation. Like, for example, for me, at my age, with the culture, is expected that by now I should have been married. And I know about 4 years ago when I went on holiday to Nigeria, and there was someone that I hadn't seen for like 10 years. I was expecting the person to be so excited to see me and all of that. And the first question I was asked was, "Are you married?" And I'm like, "No." And the next thing was like, "Why are you not married?" And my response was that, "But why should I be married?" So I think marriage is a good thing if you're happily married. But I just feel that people should get married not because it's an expectation for them to be married, but it's because they want to get married. So that's my view on marriage.
Thank you. Now we come to Princess. Princess is has been married. I don't know how many times, but Princess, tell us what is your view and your experience on marriage. You don't have to give me a whole, just you know, your view on
Yeah,
marriage. Is it
yeah.
necessary that people get married? And also, and how did you view it while you were in the marriage?
Well, you see, I love marriage as a person. Um, I grew
What
up
does
with my,
that mean? You love marriage. You love to
I love
be
family
married.
life,
Yeah.
I should say. I mean, I grew up with my mom and my siblings. So I didn't have my father in my life as a child growing up. But for me as a person, I wanted a family life. So when I finished secondary, I got married at the age of 19.
Wow.
Now, do I understand marriage then? No. I had just finished secondary school, like I said, got married, came to the UK. With no family, I don't understand what marriage was all about. Now, during that period, again, like I said, I'm coming, here with my personal experiences. Now, 19, got married, came to the UK, um, being abused, no family to speak to. Who am I going to be telling, about my issues? You're worried that if you tell people that, oh, you're being abused, they say to you, what do you mean? You're in a marriage, deal with it, sort of thing. So I held a lot of things back. No one knew about what I was going through, but I was suffering in silence. And, but again, with that marriage, at the age of 24, I had my first child, still being abused. But it got to a point where I thought, no, this is enough now. And it was another lady, a Somali lady, God bless her, that helped me to get out of it. So for me as a young woman who wants to be in a marriage, I see myself now coming out of the marriage. And people most times will judge you because, oh, you're out of the marriage. But they don't know the reason why you're out of the marriage. No woman or man goes into a relationship or marriage to walk out of it. Something must have gone wrong for you to walk out of it.
Yeah. That is um that is a little bit. Oh God, I'm so sorry that you were abused and everything, and I'm glad that you managed to get out of it. I don't know if maybe you should share how you got out of it so that people who are in an abusive relationship now can find ways. Just a short, steps on how, and then we can move on.
Okay. Now, Kiki, I must say, I wasn't strong enough to move out of this marriage.
Okay.
It was another lady who saw what I was going through, and she decided to go and speak to a social worker at the time. And with that social worker, I was called into an office, and then I gave my statement. And with the statement, I was able at the time to be moved into a women's refuge with my two boys at the time. So with the refuge, they were very, very helpful. They called Women's Aid at the time. And I was there with my boys and also with the support of Lisa at the time. Lisa was in the social worker at the time. So it was tough. It was tough. You see, most women are scared, like myself. You've got families, that will be looking at you as if you're a rebel because you have made that decision at this point. Now you've left your marriage. A lot of them will say, you should have just stayed and endured for the children's sake. But I have been enduring. I could have lost my life. But people don't understand. And if you stay and something goes wrong, the same people will say to you, don't you have the brains to leave? But at the same time, they will still complain when you leave. So it's really, really difficult, especially with our culture. And I don't know how they're going to change this. I mean, this is not my first marriage that has been in abuse, situation. So, but now, Kiki, the situation I have found myself, I don't think I would ever advise any woman to accept anyone abusing them.
Thank you so much for this. Thank you so much for this. And also thank you for the steps, the two steps with which there was a social worker involved. They went off to go and see someone. They gave a statement and they
Yeah.
were moved from the house with the children
A
to
refuge.
a refuge. Now, ladies, if you're out there and you are experiencing what Princess has just said, you will be helped if you call someone for help. You don't have to tell your gossipy friend,
No.
but you need to find a social worker. Now, if you go on your computer and you type women's refuge or I am abused, immediately there will be a page will come up and you can either somebody will speak to you on the computer and ask you if you need help. You don't have to leave your house. You don't have to go to the police station. You don't have to do any of that. Just use the computer and do that. And trust me, if your abuser is there, if he's coming or she's coming and you put your computer down, immediately it goes off. So even if they pick up the computer, they will not see who you are speaking to. They will not see that you have asked for help. Now, I want you to remember this and to do this. If there's someone watching the show, not today, could be next week, whatever, but anyone, if you need help, you will get help. And you will get help in such a way that you will be amazed. It doesn't matter if you have one child or 10 children. You need to get out of it, and people will help you get out of it. Okay, now moving away, let me tell you, I'm from Ghana, and it is the same thing. Marriage is when a man comes to marry you, there is something they say that he has raised your profile. Marriage is like the raising of your profile. That is the traditional thing. So when you have your wine carrying or your engagement, as we call it, there are some songs that are thanking the man and his family for accepting you, the woman. There is no song for the female accepting the man. There's always a song for accepting the woman. And it is these things, maybe as Princess was saying, that we have to look at it and try and change it. We need to find ways of making marriage a partnership, not something where you come out of your parents' house and then you're treated like an alien slave because you are female. Why? And traditions and customs do this to us. Anyway, in this present day world, people don't need to go through all of that. They go and find the man, they bring them. Then these days too, they have this lavish weddings. And I met a lady who I wanted her to be on the show, but she didn't want to be on the show because she felt that people would see her. It's not that she's being abused, it's just that all her dreams and hopes have been dashed. She's very unhappy in her marriage and she doesn't understand why. Unhappiness alone is making her hate the man she married. Now, when they met, it was beautiful. I was there. So I'm asking, is it the wedding? Do you think it is the wedding? I don't know. Maybe Princess can answer that question. Princess, is it the wedding?
Well,
Is
with my first, I wouldn't say it's the wedding because I was quite young.
yeah.
We didn't have elaborate wedding. It was just myself, him, and his sister, and the cook. My family wasn't there. I was just taken to the court, and that was it. I'm not married. So, and then I came to the UK. So I wouldn't say it's the wedding because I didn't understand any of that. I wasn't one of those young girls that was materialistic. So none of that mattered to me. For me, I was married and you're here now, so deal with it. So no, it's not the wedding. It's not the big wedding. You see, everyone is different. I have got married. I need to now start acting like a wife. But you see, when your intentions are different from the husband you've got, you're gonna have problems because now you have a husband who is now seeing other women. Now the attention is not at home, the attention is outside. So whenever they come home, they now start arguing unnecessarily, and you're not allowed to say anything. You keep quiet, but I know inside of me, I was dying. So my only escape route at that time was the job I was going to. So I cannot wait for the morning to come for me to leave the house. And when time for me to come back home, I'm thinking, oh my God, am I going to face this man again? It was a torture. And I can guarantee you, it's not about the wedding. Most women get married because they feel, oh, I love this man. This man loves me. But then things go wrong because they've got something else outside that is attracting them. If you
So
show your
infidelity.
pardon
Infidelity is one of the reasons why
is what
marriages break up
what
because the
yes,
men are not mature enough.
no,
Yeah.
no, yes,
Um,
because yeah.
Ngozi, I wanted to ask you, I mean, is it that people go for beauty rather than character and then they get married and then they kind of think, well, no, I don't really like her, and so pick another one, or what is it?
I think it's a range of reasons, to be honest. But I know a relative of mine who decided he was going to get married to someone because she was just very beautiful. And the lady was beautiful, but they're not happily married because, what I think people forget is that beauty fades. They have cultural differences. Um, they argue a lot. The parents, so yeah, people marry for what interests them. I know some people who say, some men who say, I'd never marry a dark woman. I like a woman who is really fair skinned. It doesn't matter whether it's naturally fair skinned or whether the person is bleaching or they say I like what some people have various reasons for or what they want in marriage, to be honest. But there's no one characteristic, but I think, in my experience, I think men are very physical. So really it's about what they see. And I know I'm generalizing here, but it's really about, is this person, and then status, especially now, a lot of men are marrying women. There are lots of women who are of marriageable age, whatever that means, who are accomplished and professionals. And, men these days want a woman who is like that. They want a woman who is independent, who has her own job, her own house, her own car, or whatever. But and that's it, that's status. She has all these things. And that's my wife. But that's about it. They're not grown up enough to take on responsibilities. And then the woman wants a man on her arms. Oh, he's handsome, he's rich. And then they forget all the other things in between, which is really your values. Do you have similar values? What are the things that unite you? That after the glitter, what happens next? And I think that's the bit people don't talk about. People don't talk about the values. People don't talk about, finances. People don't talk about the main things. Those things come afterwards. Um, it's a big worry, and that is part of the reason why marriages break up.
Lisa, when she said status, I thought of you because I noticed that a lot of young people now, they are very interested in, oh, she's an accountant and she does, she's very busy and she's da 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 da. And that is something that attracts people, the young men to the young women. Men are now looking for women with very powerful jobs. Tell me about it.
Yeah, I think it's good to be grounded and have your own independence, and the way you could do that is having a qualification. You might not necessarily go to university, but going into some kind of training or employment to be financially stable as your own person. But also, people can also get married to kind of increase their financial status. So when there is, two incomes coming in, it's so much easier to kind of run a home than if you're on your own, just kind of running your home on that side. And I also think like sometimes people kind of get married in terms of acceptance, to be socially accepted. Going back to the question about why people get married, because sometimes you're more socially accepted if you're married, or they're setting invitations you get, and those invitations are for like married people. But I think a lot of young females these days are moving away from where you're kind of financially dependent on the man, and trying to kind of get their own qualifications, get their own training, have their own jobs and their own career, so that they're not financially dependent on their husband.
I'll tell you something. Mine is simple. For example, so you've gone and married this very highfalutin girl who does all of these things. But I'll tell you, for example, with me, I have a whole day job. And then after that, I have my show. And then I have another job. I have three jobs. And all of these are wonderful jobs. And all of these help me to live my life accustomed. Now, if at this point, if I was younger, for example, and I'm going to get married to a man, I have systems in my house. I may not cook for 3 days. I mean, I may cook some food in the fridge. I may come home and drink a glass of champagne and eat some cheesy something, and that's it. I don't have to worry. Now, if the way that I am now, if I was younger and had to be married and be continually thinking, what are we going to eat, what are we going to do, and I have to do this and I have to do, I won't be able to cook. I'm telling you now. And I remember a few years ago, about 8 years ago or so, there was this guy who he said, oh, he was in love with me, he wanted to take me out, he wanted to talk to me, and then he said to me, So when are you going to invite me over and let me see how well you can cook? Because it would be nice to. I never called him back ever. I never even, and I just blocked him from my. I'm not doing this thing anymore. That's how I
Good for
thought.
you.
It's not going to happen to me. I'm not going back to servitude. So now, if these women are that accomplished and they have to work sometimes late and then they come home and you're expecting them to be in a certain way as a man, this is your right, she's supposed to do X and Y. I'm not talking about even woman, she's out, she's having a no, she's just working and she has to be in that tough man's world. How do young people cope? This is a question for Lisa. Tell me.
Yeah. I believe you have to be honest from the start when you meet someone. And I'm extremely very honest. I'm very, very clear that I don't enjoy cooking. I have to cook because I need to live and I need to survive. And I have to be honest, when the COVID started last year, it made me have to cook more because I used to kind of literally, and I know it's quite embarrassing, when it's my lunch break, I'll go to Sainsbury's, get the already cooked chicken and a bag of vegetables, put it in the microwave and I'm sauces. So I get my fruits, my vegetables and my cooked chicken. Now, I believe being honest with people from when you meet them, it's very, very important because you don't want to set up that expectation where you now get married and your husband is expecting you to be making breakfast, lunch, and dinner when you have a job to go to. And in some cases, when you have children, you have to look after the children. So I think being very honest from the beginning is very key because if you met me and I didn't enjoy cooking, but I would cook if I have to, you can't expect me to just all of a sudden, start cooking or enjoying cooking for you. I would make the effort, definitely, but I'm not going to start becoming something that I wasn't before we got into that relationship.
Okay,
Yeah.
now I've understood that. You have to, from the get go,
Yeah.
say how, this is my expectation, this is it. But I think that people should learn to balance it. It's not what your parents did, it's
Yeah.
what the two of you are doing. And these are the issues that I think brings problem because sometimes you are driven ragged. You are driven as a woman, you're driven ragged. You have children, you have to share the load. It's not if you bath your child, then you've done me a favor. What kind of favor is this? This is your child too. You didn't do me a favor. We need to bath your child. And tomorrow I will bath our child. That sort of thing. Anyway, princess, for somebody who loves marriage and everything. So you left one and then you went into another one. So did you take the baggage of the previous marriages into your marriage, or have you actually re-evaluated yourself in such a way that now life is better than it's ever been?
Well, my second marriage, I'll have to go into that. My second marriage, I feel I wasn't healed properly when I went into my second marriage. So when obviously the man came along, the family, was quite encouraging. So I think I just went into that because I thought, okay, I've seen a family who shows love to me. I think I was looking for love and I went into it. But I never knew that that was a disaster. Again, when you're going into a marriage, just like Lisa said, you need to know what they like and what you like. Are you compatible? But you see, I never looked into any of that in my first and the second marriage. So if I look back now, I don't think we were compatible at all because the things I love to do is not what they love. So it was difficult for them to encourage me and accept me for who I was. Now, my new relationship, I wanted to find that compatibility. And from the beginning, I mentioned the things I'm not good at. I made sure my partner knew that, hey, housework, I am not domesticated. I will try, I will make that effort, but it's not me. And you know what? I'm making that effort because you want to make peace, and I can see the compatibility. So the sort of things I like are the sort of things he likes. I see the values that I want, and he's got those values. And these are the sort of things I never looked at in the first and the second marriage. So again, I have learned my lesson, and now I'm well equipped to know what I want because I can see the good side of me and my partner. But before, I never saw it because we were never compatible. So there's no encouragement at all. So people need to check about compatibility when they get into a relationship. How would you feel if you have a woman that don't like cooking, just like Lisa said?
I
Yes.
do
So
think so.
no, you need to have a man that is willing to accept that.
Yeah.
Yes. Because if the man is not happy about it and he says to you, okay, Lisa, I know you don't like cooking, but we can try. Sometimes I'll help. And then
Yeah.
you come into a compromise.
Yeah.
So you
One
look at
of
the
the things that I'll tell you this for free. One of the
yeah,
things that my mother loved my father for was because he taught her the things that she couldn't do. And she taught him the things that he couldn't do. My
Yeah.
father was very afraid to touch newborn babies. It was just so scary for him.
Yeah.
And it was very easy for my mother. So slowly, slowly, by the time we started popping out, he had learned how to do certain things. And especially when you're living outside, you're not in Ghana, you're not in
Yeah.
Africa. It's just you abroad with all these children. So they managed somehow, and it's brilliant. And when he died, she wrote all of this in her obituary that this was the kindest man. She just was grateful to God. And people don't realize how important it is that to be able to have a partner, these are the compromises that people make. These are the compromises that people make. So, for example, my question is, when we talk about African marriages, we think about families and the whole thing. And now we are talking diaspora. We're all abroad. People listening are in America, etc., etc. And then you ask yourself, is it that they are breaking up more than ever because they live abroad? I mean, this is for Ngozi. Ngozi, what is it?
Um, I think again, it goes back to people not being clear about what they want and their expectations, and what's important to you in a marriage. So, for me, I didn't get married in the traditional way that people say. I got married in my 40s, and that was deliberate because marriage wasn't a big issue for me. I wanted to be independent. I wanted to be financially independent. I didn't want, I wanted to be able to, whatever expectation I had of a man, I wanted to be able to provide for myself. I think sometimes society places a lot of pressure on men and women to have expectations that men will do provide everything for them. I mean, in our society, and the same thing for women as well. But coming to the diaspora, I remember the health visitor when I had a baby. The woman was saying to me, what she all the questions were directed at me. So I turned to her and I said, you know what? The father is there. You can ask him these questions. We co-parent. I don't know everything. Just because I'm a woman doesn't mean I know everything. So you have to talk about these things, and be very clear about your expectations. So what if you have a standard? I have certain standards, and I'm not looking for my husband to provide, to be the person who will provide to my standard. If I want a very expensive thing, I make sure that I have the money to to buy what I want. And if he can afford it, then all good and well. So for me, it's the honesty. You have to be honest, and then not invite to, there's so many things on social media these days in the diaspora. There's lots of people are living their life out on social media. And if you're taken by that, then it would impact on your marriage, because you're comparing your marriage to somebody else's. The other issue again is this lack of support. You don't have a support network in the diaspora, and people still have and hold on to those traditional views of what a woman should do. She should come back from work, cook, clean, and provide for you as the husband, and you come back and sit down and don't do anything. It doesn't work. I made it clear to my husband, we're co-parenting, we do everything. So if you come to my house, you will find that my husband is very active. He does everything for our daughter the same way that I do. There's nothing like, this is what you do as the man and this is what you do as a woman.
Well,
We
I've
both
got a
parent.
question. I've got somebody saying that for most of our African men, they forget that their parents had maids, chauffeurs, gardeners, etc.
Absolutely.
in Africa who helped run the household, and therefore their mothers were not saddled with all the chores.
Yeah.
It is different abroad because we have no help and therefore cannot be like their mothers. And it's true, because I know a man who continually complains that, and his wife doesn't do this, and his wife does, and his friends around him were kind of like, "Ah, why? I mean, but can you not do some of these things?" I know a man who he goes out, people are talking, it's, my wife, I'm always doing the washing up. But who should do it? She cooks. Why can't
Yeah,
you do the work?
absolutely.
So and he actually thought that he was making a powerful point when everyone was laughing behind his back. So we is it that we don't advise our children, or is it that people need to be more alert and awake to the world that they're in, and therefore accept that, look, if you are going to marry this girl, you have to be careful. You have to be sure that you want to share everything. You want to be, it doesn't matter what balance of work you have or what balance of salary you have. The living is different. It's totally different. You have to cook sometimes. She will cook sometimes. You will do things. You have to share the job, the children, etc. Is it that parents do not talk to their children? Any of you can answer, please.
I think it's part of it. I do think that parents don't tell the children the truth. The reason we live the way we live in my house, I can use that as an example, is because we want to be role models for our only child. So she sees that daddy does stuff for mommy and mommy does stuff for daddy, and that's how we live. And I think women in particular, I think we are worst enemies. We do not speak to our children, our male children. We don't tell them the truth about marriage and relationships. It's give and take. I feel sorry for a lot of men sometimes, because especially from back home, where you wake up in the morning and the expectation is that you're meant to provide and do everything for a woman. Why do you have to do all that? And then you can't have it both ways. So on one hand, women do not want men to do. Women want men to provide for them and do everything. And on the other hand, when a man has the same expectation, so you cook, clean, and then we get upset. You really need, if you want financial independence, go work for the lifestyle that you want. If your husband has the money, then he can support you. It's as simple as that. I don't look to my husband, and I say I don't look to my husband to provide everything that I need. And that's me being honest, and he knows that. So
What do you think, Lisa? Lisa,
I think
where
that
you?
working in partnership is very important. I think the key thing is working in partnership. I don't believe that, this expectation should be for the man to do all of this. And I don't believe that the expectation to be for the woman to do all of these things. And there's some cases, because we're kind of shifting now from the idea where the woman stays at home and look after the children. There are some families that I have worked with where, looking at the income coming in, the females appears to be earning more than the male. And, you're thinking about, okay, what do I do? Do we send the child to a childminder and we're spending more than our earnings to pay for the child to be a childminder when that child could be with one of the parents at home, so you're not missing out on the child's life. So we're shifting where the males are actually being at home looking after the children whilst the mom is out working and bringing the money. So it's about working in partnership and not stereotyping and saying, well, it's a woman's role to do this or it's a man's role to do that. We're kind of in a way shifting from that now.
Okay,
I'm sorry.
we're almost there. So
Yeah.
anything anyone is going to say from this moment on is your final word.
Okay. Well, I was gonna say,
Yeah.
yes, partnership is good.
Yeah.
But it doesn't always work. You see a lot of women working so hard because they're not getting the support. I will use myself as an example. I'm sorry. There are times I have taken my children in the car because he's not there to stay with them. And it's not because he's gone to work. That way you will understand. But because I cannot rely on him, I have to take the kids in the car. I'm going from door to door to see clients. I had to teach my children not to unlock the door. Sometimes it's at night, but I have to work because I have to pay bills. If I don't pay the bills, the bailiffs are coming. The house is in my name. I'm going to the council. You're in rent arrears. They want to take you to court. I'm speaking to housing officers. Can you please help me? He's working. Well, he's not helping. Oh, this is a domestic issue. We cannot help you. So I'm forced to be doing things. It's madness. I mean, it's not everyone, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But in my situation, this is where I found myself. And families also is a big problem in our culture. When you have a man that can't speak his mind, that hasn't got a stand, you allow your family to come into your home, they will only destroy.
Oh, yes.
They wouldn't allow you to come into theirs, but they want to come into yours to make comments. They don't know. Obviously, brothers probably wouldn't tell their sisters and brothers that they're not helping at home.
Yeah.
They feel the brother has got money, the woman is taking all the money, but they don't know he's not paying nothing. But you're suffering, and they see you as the woman, as the problem. Until, obviously, you go your separate ways. And maybe at some point it might come out, I don't know, for them to realize, oh my God, is this what this woman has been going through?
Ngozi, final word.
I think if you're getting married, just think about your values, what's important to you. Cut out the noise. If you want, and then when I talk about noise, I'm talking about everybody else's opinion. And if you have a standard of which you want, then work for it, and have those expectations. If you can't take it anymore, then you leave. It's as simple as that. If I know I say that it's easy, but when you have kids and all that, which is why I advocate for women to be financially independent. Because you're financially independent, then you can walk if it's not working for you.
Yeah.
Lisa.
Sorry, I want to say something very quickly because it's very important. People in abusive marriages, I just want to say for those that are not in the Western world, because there's a lot of support for, people in the Western world, and you can type abused women's age. But I feel for people in Africa, maybe Ghana, Nigeria, South Africa, please, if you're in any abusive relationship and marriages, please, you could just think of someone that you could talk to, maybe a family or friend, someone close to a church member, because I just feel that you shouldn't remain in an abusive relationship for the sake of being married, be it a man or a woman. Please talk to someone and see if you can seek support and make sure that you're safe and the children are safe as well. Yeah.
Ladies,
You did mention church. You did mention church there. I know you did mention church. Please do not talk to no church member.
Oh, pastor.
I'm sorry.
Pastor.
I'm sorry. That's
Do
my
not
personal experience.
mention pastor or this is
No, because they
You have
they
to
look
grow
at you as
out
if you're
of
an
it.
outcast.
If
Pardon?
you believe in God, That's what I always say to people.
Okay,
If
talk
you
to
really
God.
believe in God, don't make the pastor his assistant. Why? You can pray yourself. You can look at it, read your Bible. Anyway,
I think talk to if you're in Africa, I know we're rounding up, but I think if you're in Africa where we don't have the same systems, having a good friend or good relative and surround yourself around it. And that's how lots of people have navigated it. Lots of
people, I
people have
want
been
to
in,
thank you for coming
yes.
on the show. My time is up, and if I don't take care, I'll get into problems. They need time for adverts and everything else. So, so
Thank
people,
you.
thank you so much. At this issue, we haven't finished. So maybe we shall come back in a few weeks to
Yes.
talk about it. Or maybe I can book you so that at the end of the month, the last Wednesday of this month, I'm gonna get men to come and talk about their views. And I'm
Yeah.
gonna have women in the background who can poke and make sure that they're not lying or challenge them as well. So people, Lisa,
Yeah.
Ngozi, and Princess, thank you so much for coming. And you've made
Thank
the
you.
discussion so interesting that the time just flew.
I know. I wish we had more time.
I
Yeah,
know.
no, we don't. We've done a whole 51 minutes. We've gone
Yeah.
over 1 minute actually. So
Yeah.
anyway, I want to thank you. Stay on the air, stay there, but I'm gonna
Okay.
come off and then we can chat.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. My listeners, thank you very much for staying on, listening, and all of that. If you listen later on the YouTube, you can just click like, and you can just join, just be part of the whole show. It will be on television on channel 7 on Sky. So anyone who wants to watch can go and watch it there. Or you can tell your friends to watch you on there. So thank you. Thank you very much. Bye
Thank
bye. Be
you.
well.